is a terrorist state.
Russia is a terrorist state.
More sanctions on Russia.
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 Tribunal for Russian war criminals.
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 Seize Russian assets.
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 I am certain everybody here is well acquainted with the term blood money. The money of the corrupt. The money earned at the expense of others, from the blood of others. That is the money that the Russian terrorist regime has. Most of it has been earned with the blood of Ukrainians. They were killing the Ukrainian people, trying to take over Ukraine and its resources. And they want to continue doing as such. But a lot of that blood money is also the blood of other nations. And the Russians are included. Because Putin is ransacking Russia himself. And very unfortunately, it would seem like a large part of the Russian population does not care whether or not Putin ransacks their country, whether or not Russia continues being a terrorist regime, whether or not their future is not taken into account when they are waging this war, when they, the Russian population themselves, is being sent as cannon fodder against the Ukrainians. We've seen it when they were attacking Avdiivka. Large units, unseen before, simply sent in meat waves to overwhelm the Ukrainian side. Now the Ukrainians, they retreated. Because for the Ukrainians, the most important thing, the top priority, is the life of their people. That has always been our priority. But for the Russian terrorist regime, their priority is to keep their corrupt leadership in power. In fact, Yevgeny Prigozhin himself, the late leader of the Wagner Group, who was killed for speaking too many truths about the Russian terrorist regime, he himself has acknowledged that this war was never started by Russia to liberate some kind of a Russian population in Ukraine, to denazify Ukraine. Nothing like that. The Russians have started this war with one purpose only: to enrich the Russian elites. That was always their purpose. That was always the #1 goal. And they admitted it themselves. However, unfortunately, it would seem like many people still don't understand that. They don't understand that we cannot negotiate with the Russian terrorist regime because of the many times they have broken their word in the past. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, and your name is Russia. That is the lesson we should have learned long ago. That is the lesson we should have learned when Russia broke the Budapest Memorandum. That is the lesson we should have learned when Russia broke the Minsk Agreement. That is the lesson we should have learned when Russia broke the Russia-Ukraine Friendship Treaty. And also, that is the lesson that all of these Russophiles and shills for Putin should have learned when Yevgeny Prigozhin tried to come to an agreement with Putin and was betrayed by Putin, unsurprisingly. I mean, it's obvious. Somebody who's a crook, who's a criminal, and they offer you a deal. They promise golden mountains for you. And this is something that Mearsheimer himself, John Mearsheimer, has said in the past. You know, one of his stupid points is that the EU gave Ukraine a poor deal. But Putin gave Ukraine a great deal, right? Wrong. Putin's deal was only words. Sure, it sounded good when he said it, but it wasn't even put on paper. There was no actually publicly released contract or treaty with Russia. They didn't want any of that because they knew that if Ukraine sides with them, then they can do whatever they want to Ukraine. And if Ukraine comes to them and says, well, this is not what you promised, you know what the Russian terrorist regime will do? They will point a gun at them and they will say, do as I please or you die. It's as simple as that. They don't care about contracts. They don't care about keeping their word. They don't care about decency or legitimacy. They stopped caring long ago. In fact, some could say they never cared in the first place. That is why, my friends, we cannot negotiate with the Russian terrorist regime, because Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a Potemkin country. Russia is a country-sized criminal syndicate. And those who continuously give liars new and new chances, I'm sorry, my friends, but there's no better word to describe them than fools. And we need to learn with our mistakes so that we do not commit them again. Stop Russia, stop the war!
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 Tribunal for Russian war criminals!
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 Help Ukraine protect peace!
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 Help